How about that? Is that better?
There you go.
All right. My fault. All right, so now we're going to start over. I'm just kidding. It says, that, and the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. So I want you to understand that the crowd that's following Jesus, their mindset is, here's this guy who's doing these wonderful miracles, okay? Now, they're not saying this is the Messiah. They're not thinking those things yet. They're just thinking, who is this guy? I mean, this guy's even better than John the Baptist. Remember now, a lot of folks have been following John the Baptist and going to hear him preach. And I think there were two sides of that coin. There were folks that probably enjoyed listening to him make the Pharisees look bad, and there were folks that enjoyed just listening to him because he made them feel like they needed something more than what they had. And so there was these different crowds, and then those that didn't like listening to John because he made them look bad, all right? And so Jesus is greater than John the Baptist, and so these people are following him. And now this time of the Passover, this is a holy time, okay? This is a time where y'all remember what the Passover is about, right? In the book of Exodus, the children of Israel were enslaved in bondage for over 400 years in Egypt. And so here they are, and they're remembering the Passover. They're in Egypt. The Lord gave them a deliverer, okay? Moses came, and Moses was used by God to bring them out. And the night before they left, God sent the death angel. He sent the death angel to go through the land of Egypt and kill all the firstborn sons. But the rule was that if you were someone that had the blood of a firstborn male lamb without blemish, if you were someone that had the blood of that lamb over the doorpost and on the side post of your door, then the death angel went past your house. Your firstborns were all safe. But if the blood was not on the door, then the firstborn died of that house. Firstborn men, firstborn animals, all firstborn males in the land of Egypt that were under the blood were slain. And of course, the children of Israel came out, and this was something that they were to do every year, Yom Kippur. Okay? Every year they celebrate the Passover. Every year they celebrate the fact that God delivered them from their bondage. And so this is the time. This is a holy time. And so here's this holy man who is doing great miracles. Okay? They know they're on the precipice of something great. This is awesome. And so I believe there's a reason that verse is right there to let us know their mindset. The feast of the Jews was at nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes and saw a great company come unto him, he saith unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Now, do you know that God proves his kids? Okay? Now, we don't use the word the way that the Bible is using it here that often. But what does that mean? Test. Test what? When God tests you, what is he testing? Is he testing your knowledge of him? Is he testing your love for him? He's testing your faith in him. God loves to test our faith. And we would say God likes to help us exercise our faith. It's really, if you're going to look at it the right way, this proving is to cause a test that strengthens. All right? And so God loves to prove his children. So here's Philip. Okay, Philip, one of the 12 apostles, and he's here with Jesus, and Jesus says, look at all these people, how are we going to feed them? Now, we know that Jesus wasn't going, well, I didn't think about this. I didn't know this was going to happen. What do I do now? That wasn't Jesus' mindset, and John makes sure we know that by saying this he asked to prove Philip. He said, Philip, what are we going to feed him? And Philip then answers him, well, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. Now, we still don't know how many folks there are yet, okay? All we know is that there's all the money that they have. I'm going to guess that's all the money that Philip had, right? Maybe that's all the money that the collective of the apostles had. I don't know. But he says, even if we had this much money, it wouldn't be enough to feed this people. So, Philip's faith wasn't where it was supposed to be, was it? Where was Philip's faith, y'all? Come on now. Stay with me. Where was Philip's faith? It was in what he had. It was in money. It was in what they were able to do. And he says, I'm not able. Now, that's a good place for God to get me. Okay? That's a really good place for God to prove me, to test me, to get me to the point where I go, well, even if I had this, I couldn't do it. Even if I had this much, it would not be sufficient. It is a great thing for all of us to come to that place and point in time where we understand that what we have isn't going to be enough. The most you have isn't going to be enough. I don't care how wealthy you are. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care about who you are. Jesus, listen now, as much as he loves me, does not care about what I bring to the table. We like to think like that. There are those that do not struggle with the sin of pride, okay? Mostly those people are dead. Because we all struggle with pride. Now, our pride may look different from one to another and be very diverse. Because you might say, well, I'm not proud. I don't think much of myself, and nobody really cares about me. And all. Guess what? That's pride. It's just the other side of a coin of pride. Because you're still focused on you. Pride is about me, right? Humility is about him. And so Philip says, look, if I had all this, it wouldn't be enough. If we came together and had all this, it wouldn't be enough. Jesus was proving him, and his faith wasn't where it was supposed to be. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, saith unto him, there is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? So Andrew says, okay, we got something here, Jesus. This little boy brought a lunch. Man, have I heard so many messages about this little boy bringing lunch. Guess what today's message is not about? This little boy and his lunch, okay? We know that you give God your little, and he does so very much, okay? Little is much when God is in it, right? We know that, okay? So let's just get past that point. We're not going to preach on the lad today. I'm glad the lad was there. I'm glad the lad had his lunch. I'm glad Mom packed his lunch that day for when he went out, okay? And God used it. But here comes Andrew. One of the disciples says, now, I just picture Andrew going through the crowd going, somebody got any food? He probably overheard Jesus asking Philip. All right? Well, I'll help. I'm going to find food. Here he is, just walking around, scanning everybody. You might say being nosy. So he was Baptist. Actually, he was related to my wife. Her sisters are the nosiest people in the world. He's just walking around, trying to find something. Oh, look, there's that little boy. Hey, son, what you got? Hey, little boy, hey, what do you got there? I'm not talking to you, Lucas. You don't have to answer. Unless you got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. No? Okay. So he finds this little boy and says, all right. Now, I don't know, okay? Andrew knew who he was following. I think Philip had an idea. But Andrew was someone that knew a little bit more about who he was following. Now, Andrew might have been completely ignorant, okay? He might have been like, well, all we got, these 2 fishes and these 5 loaves, whatever that is going to, Andrew could have been that. But I would propose to you maybe a little bit different side of who Andrew was, and maybe a little bit different of what thought he might have come to Jesus. See, Jesus was proving Philip, right? You ever proved God? You ever proved God? You ever put God to the test? Now listen, I'm not talking about, well, God, I'm going to take this job if they offer me this much money, okay? Come on, man. All right? I'm talking about just getting down on your hands and knees and saying, God, I need you right now. I have no idea how to get through this. I would propose to you, Andrew had no idea how they were going to do this. I would propose to you, he looked for the crowd to see if there was anything that they could do, and he sees that lad's lunch, and I don't know, I just feel like Andrew might have seen that lunch and go, I wonder what Jesus could do with this. We're talking about, this is God here. Andrew knew he was following somebody more than John the Baptist. Why? Because he left following John the Baptist to follow the one. And so Andrew goes and he gets his lunch. He said, Lord, I almost hear Andrew proving Jesus, putting Jesus to the test. Now listen, be careful. Be careful. There can't be any pride. My Bible tells me that God resisteth the proud. What does that mean? You come to God with a little bit of pride and you get nothing. You come to God with humility, though. I just see Andrew come to him and say, Lord, here we got this 5 loaves and these 2 fishes, but what is that amongst so many people? Right? See, you know what I hate about texting? No tone. No tone, all right? None at all. I mean, I can text my wife something, and her response can completely demolish me. And it's not what she meant at all. Why? Because there's no tone in text, right? I like FaceTime. I like Marco Polo. All right? I like something where I can see what you're saying and know how and why you're saying it. Right? I like tone. And so I try and read my Bible with tone, all right? I'm sorry. I do. I try and read my Bible with tone. Now, the problem is we only see things one way, don't we? Right? I don't see things like Bob Lyons. I don't. Okay? I see things like Larry Hall. That's who I see things like. It's my perspective. And so from my perspective, and I'm saying, because there are those of you, well, Andrew must have been the most spiritual person in the entire world because of something I said today. That's not what I'm saying, okay? I'm just saying, I just read this, and Andrew, I think he has some tone here that is proving that Jesus Christ was going to handle this situation. Knowing that Andrew couldn't do it, Philip couldn't do it, but Jesus could. He said, there's a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? Like, hey, Jesus, what could you do with this? You know, I've heard preachers brag about this lad who gave up his lunch. I almost think this lad didn't really have a choice. I mean, he was just honoring the guy that Andrew said, son, let me see your lunch. Let me see your lunch. I wonder if Andrew said, I'll give it back to you. I wonder if he did. Now think about that. Think about that. Because come on now, most of you know what's going on in the story. You know what Jesus is about to do. We read it this morning. We read it that Jesus takes these loaves and he fishes and he gives God thanks and he breaks them and he gives to his disciples and the disciples go and distribute among all the people. I'll bet you Andrew took some lunch to that little boy. And I bet you when he handed to him he said, told you I'd bring it back. Told you I'd bring it back. I mean, come on now. Is Andrew that big of a jerk, okay, where he's going to go out and say, give me that. The master needs it. Come on. Now, is that how we're going to picture Andrew? Is that what we think? Did Lucas look really upset when I did that? I wasn't looking. I just don't feel like that's what Andrew's heart was. And I'm not here to brag on Andrew, not at all. If I'm bragging on him, it's about his faith and who Jesus was and who he was following. Because if you have faith, it causes you to follow. If you have faith, it causes you to prove who God is. If you have faith, you want to see what he can do. And not so you can say, well, God's blessing me because I'm so good. Because we get that mindset. Man, it is amazing to me how I can humble myself, and I can humble myself, and I can humble myself, and how pride will creep in my humility. Am I being a good Christian? Am I being a good husband? And the things that I think that I'm doing so good at, and I start to get, well, I'm doing pretty good. And get filled with pride. I hate being defeated in my pride. Y'all keep an eye on me where I put these, okay? I just picture Andrew asking this boy for his lunch and saying, I'll be right back with it. He goes, Jesus, what could you do with this? What could you do with this? And Jesus said, make the men sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in number about 5,000. So now we get an idea of the crowd. Now, you know one thing I despise. I despise news weather. I despise the news, but I despise news weather, right? I'll get my news or my weather from an app, from little digits, data that just tell me what may or may not happen. But what I don't like is, you know that it's going to snow, but the news then goes this. We're going to get an inch of snow. We could possibly get 1 to 12 inches of snow tomorrow morning. What happens? Well, you go to Walmart and all the bread and milk's gone. Right? I don't know what the correlation is with snow and bread and milk. Okay? People must like sopped milk in bread. I don't know. Okay? Not a fan myself. Well, you got to have eggs. I didn't say bread, milk, and eggs. You can't make French toast without eggs. If you do, then that's weird French toast, and I don't want it. Yeah, okay. Sometimes. But usually it's bread and milk. And because of COVID, toilet paper now, okay? Anyways, I hate the way that we super sensationalize things, right? I mean, we want to make things so much more dramatic than they really are. You know, I have literally heard it preached that there was 12,000 people here this day. I have. I've heard people say, well, if there was 5,000 men and there was 5,000 women and there had to be at least 2,000 kids, that's 12,000, right? That's good math, I think. I mean, if you do math that way, 5,000 plus 5,000, 10 plus 2,000, that's 12,000. I mean, sure, you get to that. But why isn't it miraculous enough that there was 5,000 people here today? The Bible uses men generically all the time, does it not? Okay? So why do we have to super sensationalize this? Why is not the fact that Jesus took 2 fish and 5 loaves and fed 5,000 people not miraculous enough? Why is that not mind-blowing enough? Why do we have to hype up what is already supernaturally hyped? I don't know. That's not even anything to do with the message. That's just a little problem I have. So Jesus tells the men to sit down. Nice place of grass. Everybody sits down. Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to the disciples. We'll say it again. He distributed to the disciples. Jesus didn't give it to the 5,000 people. Now, granted, I know we got this guy with a big belly and a beard who goes around once a year, okay, and he gives presents to all the children on the earth that aren't bad, okay? I know that we believe, or there are those that believe in that type of folklore, all right? And I know that Jesus could have just, I mean, listen, Rissa thinks Flash is fast, okay? All right, Rissa loves Flash. If you don't know that about Rissa, she loves her some Flash, okay? And so Flash is fast, right? But I mean, Jesus is faster. I'm just telling you, okay? Ain't nobody faster than Jesus. So Jesus could have fed all 5. Jesus can do things like this, but you know what Jesus chooses to do? Listen, Jesus could roll the clouds back today, and in the entire earth let everybody know, hey, I am God, and I love you, and I want you to follow me. He could do that. He could do that. He could present himself to everybody in a miraculous way, and he could do that. And he would be just in doing so. He could do whatever he wants. He's God. But that's not how God works. That's not how Jesus is working. No, Jesus has a few folks that he wants to use to be a blessing to a whole bunch of folks. So Jesus gives thanks as he breaks the bread and distributes to his disciples, and the disciples to them that were set down, and likewise of the fishes as much as they would. And when they were filled, he said unto his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, that nothing be lost. Picture Philip here, all right? Philip needed his faith tested. He did, okay? Philip had no idea what they were going to do. Philip looked to what all of us do. Listen, we do it. We look to finances to figure out our way through things. Come on now, let's just be honest. I can't do that. I can't afford to do it. I can't give that way. I can't afford to do it. I can't do of my time that way. My time is too valuable. I can't afford to do it. I can't sacrifice that way. It will cost me too much. Don't act like that's not how we look at things, because we are all much more like Philip than we are Andrew. We are all much more dependent on what we can do than we are what he can do. Philip needed his faith tested, his faith proved. Me personally, if that was my mindset, which it often is, and I'm Philip, and I have just been used by God. Imagine these disciples, each time going back to Jesus. They had just delivered as much food as they could carry to whoever they could carry it to. Listen, this was a slow process. This feeding of the 5,000 didn't happen like this. We would want it to, wouldn't we? Especially if we're in the back. Is that waiter ever going to bring me my food? Right? That's our mentality. That'd be our mentality. That'd be my mentality, right? My wife and I went to dinner last night at a place where you walk up to the counter, you order your food, you go sit down, and the sign said 35 minutes wait for your food. It's that type of place. It's okay. Right? We sat down and waited for it. And she said, well, this isn't instant gratification. Because I told her, you can go to McDonald's and you order your food and you get your food. This is much better than McDonald's. We want what we want now. But just imagine as Philip and Peter and Matthew and Luke and Nathaniel and Simon and Judas and James, each time they go back and there's more. Each time they go back to Jesus, he's got more bread. He's got more fish. For them to go, here, Jesus wanted me to give this to you. Jesus wanted me to give this to you. And then, you still got more? Jesus wanted me to give this to you. Yeah. Jesus wanted me to give this to you. I've only been doing this 8 years. I've been preaching for 12 years. This is inexhaustible. The depths of this are fathomless. I've not yet went to Jesus for something to be a blessing with and haven't got it. It's not even a challenge on my daily devotions, my daily devos. It's not even a challenge. Now, it's a challenge if I go, I just don't have time to do it this morning. How am I going to get it done? When I depend on what I can do. But when I go, Lord, I want to give them something from you. Lord, I want to show them that you love them. When I depend on him to give it, it's inexhaustible. I haven't ran out of anything from him yet. And I'm just one guy. There's 11 other guys. I'm being metaphorical. There's a lot of other. Me and Brother Danny talked about this when he was here. He's been doing this for a long time. He ain't ran out of stuff to give to the people that Jesus loves. Imagine the disciples. Each trip going. As they get to the very back, I know you might have been worried if he had some, but he still has more. This is for you because Jesus loves you. You talk about Philip's faith being strengthened. Andrew's faith being strengthened and rewarded. You're never going to walk away from Jesus empty unless it's by choice. And then, Jesus says, Now go get a basket and gather up everything that's left over. What do you mean? What do you mean what's left over, Jesus? There was only 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And don't think there wasn't at least one disciple that thought that way. Even after everything. Why? Because that's what we do. That's what we do. That's what we do. Jesus could answer a tremendous need. Jesus could show himself mighty and prove himself time and time again. And yet the next time we're still going to go, what am I going to do now? Why? Well, because we're morons. And I use that term lovingly, but truthfully. So the disciples take these baskets. They start going to these people. And they start putting stuff back in their basket. Whoo, this is more than I can handle. I couldn't finish what you gave me. Thank you. Tell Jesus I said thank you. This was really good. And the disciples get in their baskets full. As much as I get to give to you pales in comparison to what he gives to me. I am full. And I know some of you are going, yeah, you're full of it, all right. I love carrying my basket around. I love carrying my basket around. Now, that don't mean I walk around with this all the time. I walk around with this all the time. If you know me at all, there are 2 subjects that you will never hear me run out of things to talk about. Food and Jesus. Because I'm full and I'm full. It is inexhaustible. Jesus never runs out. Verse 13, therefore they gathered them together and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves which remained over and above unto them that had eaten. So, here are the disciples. These 12 men that God had chosen, handpicked to follow him. And just full of faith. I mean, yeah, they were full of fish and bread, but they were full of faith. Then we get to verse 14 and 15. Then those men, now this is not the disciples, this is those 5,000 that sat down, when they had seen the miracle that Jesus did, said, this is of a truth, that prophet that should come into the world. So they've come to a realization. Tell me you wouldn't come to a similar realization as you're sitting there and watching as 5 loaves and 2 fishes. And you might say, well, they didn't have a PA system. Jesus didn't say, all right, everybody, I ain't got but 5 loaves and 2 fishes, so y'all just, we'll see what we can do. No, they just watched as the disciples slowly and methodically went and delivered what Jesus gave them to every individual. And they watched. Nobody was bringing more food. There wasn't a truck backing up so Jesus had more to hand out. No, he was the source. He was the source. He was what provided. He was the sufficiency. And these men, these people here, these 5,000 watched. And they came to a realization. Look what he's doing. Look what he's doing. Hey. I mean, I heard the story when I was growing up that there's a Messiah coming. And he's going to deliver us. He's going to be the king. Here he is. This has got to be that one. That's what they're saying. This has got to be that guy. I mean, look at all the miracles he's done. Look at all the wonderful things he's done. This has got to be that guy. But then look at verse 15. When Jesus therefore perceived that they would come and take him by force. You know what that is, don't you? That's pride. To make him a king. if there was ever a verse in the Bible to completely and totally debunk the name it and claim it gospel. Okay? That doctrine of you just tell Jesus what you want and he provides it. And I'm talking about finances. I'm talking about I don't want to give anybody a name, but there's some preachers out there that's how they roll. That's how they, in their $1 million jets, multi-million-dollar jets, because they get people to give because the money is what they're about. They said they'd take him by force. Jesus knew their heart. So what did he do? He departed again into a mountain himself alone. You can go to that last slide there, Jason. I want to ask you a couple questions this morning. Are you a consumer? Or are you a Christian? A Christian is a follower of Christ. A Christian is not somebody who just says they're a Christian. A Christian is somebody that keeps going to the source. Not so that they can be full, but so that someone else can be full. A consumer is somebody that sits in the back and says, well, when's my food going to get here? A consumer is someone that says, well, if this guy can take these 5 loaves and 2 fishes to feed us 5,000, then he has got to be the one that can take care of all the hunger in our nation. He's the one that can take care of all of our problems. He's the one that can answer every situation we have. He's the one that can take down Rome. He's the one that can deliver us from all the things that we don't like and give us all the things that we want. That's a consumer mentality. That's why they wanted to take him by force. What does that mean? They were going to go up and literally grab Jesus and said, you're our king. They were going to say, this is the list we've got that we need you to fix, O king. This is what we want you to do for us, Jesus. And I'm afraid that far too often we have a consumer mentality. We want a king in our life, but not the king of our life. We want someone who can handle all of our situations and help us out of the things that we don't want to be in, and deliver us from our bondage of poverty, or deliver us from our problem with this person, or deliver us from whatever it is situation that we are in. Now the thing is, it's by force. It's by force. Well, they can't make Jesus do anything. Duh. Do you understand that it was foolish to have that type of mentality? Do you understand it's foolish to think that you can ask him to do anything? The Bible says you have not because you ask not. But it also says, and you have not because you ask, but you ask amiss, that you might consume it upon your lusts. What is that? That's a consumer mentality. That's a consumer mentality. That is not what is going to honor Jesus. It is not someone who really wants the King of Kings. Real followers are food handlers. The disciples handled every morsel of food. Every portion of food, they handled it that Jesus wanted delivered. Real followers. You might be like, well, I don't want to be a pastor. I'm not talking about being a pastor. I'm talking about being a real follower of Jesus Christ. I'm talking about being a Christian. You know, Andrew went and found the loaves and fishes. You know why he found them? He was looking. Real followers find the food. Somebody who really wants who Jesus is goes to where Jesus is. Gives them who they are so that Jesus can do something. Andrew found the source. Philip knew the disciples didn't have the means to meet the need. At least Philip did that. He said, we can't do it, Jesus. That's a great place to be. That's a great place to be. To be at the end of yourself. Why? Because then you can go to the only one that can give you what you need. The only one that can help you meet the needs of others. You know, I love that we have this furniture ministry. I got to stand before the zoning board this week, and they said, why should we allow you to continue to use that trailer? That's just a temporary building. It's been up for 8 years. 2 more years, and it's going to be 10 years. That is not temporary. They weren't being mean. They were just being factual. And one of the zoning board members asked me this: if we don't give you this temporary pass or whatever, variance, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to do whatever we have to do. I said, we'll have to take the 5-year-olds to 18-year-olds and teach them all in one class. And I said, and there's going to get things that are going to be lost. There's going to be things that are going to be lost. Because the 5-year-old's not going to get what the 18-year-old gets, and the 18-year-old isn't going to want to get what the 5-year-old gets. There'll be things to be lost. See, Jesus wants the things that are distributed, when they are gathered, he don't want anything to be lost. He wants everything to be for people to need. And I let him know, I said, we'll do what we have to. I said, but can I just tell you? I said, well, don't you have any plans for building? I mean, we'd feel better if you had some plans. If you could tell us that on such and such time you're going to maybe build on. I said, it would be a lie. And it would be a foolish thing for me to do. I said, I want us to grow. I said, I remain ever hopeful. I said, but we're still pretty new out here, and we're just getting acclimated to the way the culture is out here. I said, and because we're getting acclimated, we're getting integrated. I said, we have the furniture ministry now. I said, we work hand in hand with Love Inc. And we know that it's important in this community to be in this community. I said, we're trying. And I said, and because of that, we actually have folks that live in the area starting to come to church. I said, so I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful. I couldn't give them the answers they wanted, but I gave them the answers that I had. And God gave me the answer that we needed. And we get to keep the trailer for a couple more years. Now, in a couple more years, they're going to let us do it again. I hope they don't need to. I hope that within a year we can get rid of that thing because God blesses us. I remain hopeful. I remain hopeful. But I got to stay close to the source. Andrew, a real follower of Christ, discovers at the source. A real follower of Christ delivers what Christ has blessed him with, or her. What does that mean? If you're silent about what Jesus is doing in your life, listen, you're not a real follower of Christ. You're more of a consumer. And you might be like, Pastor, that's harsh. Just telling you what the Bible says. Just telling you what Jesus has shown me. And for me to just be silent about what he's doing in my life, for me to let all these things just be something that I consume, but I don't distribute, it makes me a consumer, not a Christian. Jesus took the bread and made it sufficient. It's nothing that I'm doing. It's nothing the disciples did. The disciples just showed what Jesus did. And the last thing is, a real follower of Christ doesn't drop what Jesus is doing. Doesn't drop off what Jesus is blessed with. Jesus said, I want you to gather it up, that nothing get lost. We spend too much, listen, Greta, I spend too much time talking about food. I spend too much time talking about nonsensical things that don't really matter. Why? I've got a very much consumer mentality most times. Most times. But a real follower holds on to what Jesus has given them. Gives it to others. You want to know what blesses me? When I'm trying to be a follower of Christ. When I'm trying to be that one that gets what Jesus has and distributes it. You know what I love more than anything? To hear about your food. And I'm not talking about what you eat and put in your belly. I'm talking about what God has given you. What's that? That's me going with the basket. You say, Jesus gave you this. This is so much more than I can handle. It's so much more than I needed. Let me give to someone else. Nothing blesses me more. This isn't a message about offering. God takes care of money. If he wants to use you to do so, do so. I'm talking about your life. Are you a consumer or are you a Christian? Do you have a king that you want to help you out? Or you have the king that you follow with everything that you have? Heads are bowed and eyes are closed. Stand with me if you would, Brother Brent. Come on.